Hello, everyone, and welcome to our new episode of the Expat Career and Lifestyle podcast. This is your host, Dominika Miernik, and our special guest today is Grace Kelly, a success coach and founder of citygirlconfidence.com, which was selected by Forbes as one of the top 100 websites for women. After successfully leaving her 9-to-5 job and growing her coaching business to 6 figures in 6 months, as a brand new coach, Grace specializes in helping clients who are starting out in the first 6 months of their new business. Her expertise has been featured in the Sunday Times, Soul and Spirit, and Good Housekeeping. She was also the guest on our Take Your Career With You Summit. Welcome, Grace. Thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Dominic. It's lovely to be back here. Yeah.
You're welcome. So I am really happy to have you here again with us because your interview was one of the most clicked during our summit. So I am really happy to have you again. So tell us more about your own career transformation, how you started and how about 6 years ago you moved from London to Puglia, Italy.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, I started out as a school teacher. I was teaching French in London in an all-boys school for about 6 years. And during that time, it just became clearer and clearer to me that I really didn't want to be confined to a 9-to-5 work experience. I love teaching, I love the kids, but I really didn't enjoy the lack of freedom and the sort of also the financial cap. There's only so much money you can make when you're on a monthly salary as well. So over time, Dominica, I kept kind of getting these signs about, you could do something else, you could try something else, why not do something else? But I really didn't know what else I could do. I had trained as a teacher and since I was a little girl, I had envisioned, I'd seen myself with a blackboard and helping and sort of teaching and sharing. So to me, there sort of wasn't any other path, so I kind of discounted my wisdom, if you like, and sort of intellectually and logically decided that, that teaching was all I would be able to do in a school. But as the years went on, I started feeling exhausted. And so sometimes the symptoms I was experiencing were things like constant tiredness, boredom for sure, lethargy, not wanting to even get out of bed, having to go to work in this job that I didn't enjoy. So sort of started having an impact on me. And the sort of turning point came one day when I was en route to work, and I took what I can only describe as a mild anxiety attack on the underground, on the train. And it was all I could do to get off that train and over to the stairwell, where I sat down on the stairwell and I just watched thousands and thousands of people rushing to the train to get to work, stressed, anxious. I just kind of felt at that time, I don't want to live like this anymore. There's got to be more to life. I was feeling on a treadmill, earning money to fork it out on recovering my health every month. I was going to doctor after doctor and no one could find anything. It was just real symptoms of to me, not doing what you love, So, I didn't know how I was going to get out of that job, but I said to myself, I had enough self-awareness to say, this is it. I don't care what's next. We'll find something else. And so about 6 months later, I came home and my partner had decided he wanted to relocate to Italy. And that to me was really scary because I did not want to leave London. I was a city girl. I didn't want to leave the city, all my friends, the shops, the restaurants, the bars. But something in me sort of prompted, this is it, So I said, yes, I would go with him. And we were kind of both going to figure out what we'd do next. So lo and behold, we packed everything up, and I handed in my notice and left, and we moved to southern Italy, which was meant to be a bit of a stopgap, but we fell so in love with everything here. You know, my partner wanted to emigrate to Canada or get some work in Vancouver. I was the one that said no, because I was just so pleased with this beautiful lifestyle that was on offer here. And it was during that time that I began to look at what else can I do. I took about the first year off. I was so exhausted, I needed time out. But after about the first year, I thought, okay, Grace, you know, this is getting a bit dull. What do you want to do? And coupled with the fact that I was very aware that I was becoming more and more financially dependent on my partner, and that was starting to cause friction for me in the relationship. So I kind of had that sense of urgency, a sort of a good urgency, to start looking in a new direction and roll on a couple of years. And I found myself having a coaching business and traveling the world, coaching different clients, and now bringing clients home to me here in Italy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, what, based on your experience, on your own, like, transformation or transition to this new career as a coach, what can you advise to a woman who is thinking about changing her career or maybe starting something new, for example, a business, a coaching business, or other type of business? So how, and she doesn't know what she wants exactly, what is her direction? What can you advise?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get asked that a lot, actually. It's sort of poignant about getting started. And you know, for me, I didn't know what my direction would be. You know, people sometimes think we have it all figured out and we know exactly what we're going to do. I just knew that I wanted to help people. And it made sense to me that coaching was a way to do that. And it was a kind of easy transition or swing alongside teaching. So I kind of followed that. I followed that desire to help people. I started noticing what was around me, and I was seeing coaches springing up left, right, and center, and sort of got curious about that direction and what that was. But without absolute clarity on the who or the what or the how. So when I get asked that question, I'll often say to people, first get a feel for the direction you'd like to go in, and don't be mistaken that it needs to all be figured out already before you do it. You know, as I see it, Dominica, we get an idea and we follow that breadcrumb, and then the next breadcrumb appears, and breadcrumb by breadcrumb we find ourselves waking up in a new reality. So you know, my advice, I very rarely give a lot of advice, but my advice would be follow the breadcrumb that's already coming to you. Whatever ideas are coming to you, you know, I think what we tend to do is we intellectualize. Like, that's what I did as a teacher. Oh, I can't do anything else. I'm just a teacher. Oh, you know, even though wisdom was guiding me the whole time to look in a new direction. So, you know, get a feel for what's coming to you and start going in that direction, whatever that first step is. That's what matters. One of the things that came to me was start writing about your life. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of isolated in Italy. I didn't speak the language. And so my life kind of started becoming online. And I would write about my days, and I would write about Italy, and I would write about just the change of well-being, the change of circumstances. And I didn't know that writing was going to draw people towards me, curious about making a change themselves. You know, I was just sharing what was coming to me, breadcrumb by breadcrumb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like acting on your idea, like acting on your wisdom and taking small steps. Yes, because sometimes we can be like overwhelmed with our thinking or like questioning ourselves, for example, so what I'm going to do or how I am going to do or what is my niche, for example, if you are thinking about starting your business, so you start to overthinking at the beginning, and you can get lost. um, yeah, so you traveled a lot. So you moved to Italy. You started your new business, coaching business, and you in the meantime you traveled a lot, and you had this fantastic 5-star lifestyle, and you built your six-figure coaching business, and you worked also with the best mentors. And then, because I am following you, so I know a little bit what are your steps. Yeah, what is your story? And then you like transformed your business again. So what's happened? And so tell us more about this second transformation transition, let's say.
Yeah, lovely question. I love that you're following me closely enough to know that. So so I was like Dominica said, you said, I got this coaching going, and I find that people were coming to me and they really wanted help with leaving their career and starting their new business, and then they would come to me wanting help on how to make money in a new business, or as a new coach in particular, or a therapist or a healer or a teacher. And along the way, I started noticing that, there were a few things that I would help people with that would just really get to the core. And one of those things was helping people get really clear on their message and what they're offering as a service. So I was helping people do that, and I would witness and see how some people would get that clarity and go off into the world and actually act on it and use it and start making, progress with it, money with it, a business with it. And then I saw that other people wouldn't do anything with it. And that got me really curious. I was like, what is this missing link? Why do some individuals, take what they get and act on it, and others continue to ruminate about getting more clear, or getting better websites first, or being better at doing their thing first? And something happened to me that gave me the missing link. It was very personal to me, Dominica. I took myself off the merry-go-round that I felt I was on, which was all about mastering more marketing, learning more about selling, getting better at techniques. I took myself away from that, and I kind of shut down all the noise out there. I kind of did what I call an information detox, because I found I was starting to get lost in that. And something in me, my wisdom, was saying, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this hard. I find that way of operating quite dull and difficult. And I had given up my day job to get into what I love. So to me, I was starting to feel like, oh my God, just learning more of this stuff is not fun. So I went on a retreat for a weekend where my mind literally quietened down. I literally settled down my thinking. And during the course of that weekend, I noticed something new about myself. I was in a room with lots of other lovely coaches, lovely people, and I noticed that I couldn't really connect with them. I was worrying about how I looked. I was concerned about having the right handbag. I was really concerned about getting the answer correct that the teacher was going to ask. And it struck me that I was living self-conscious. I was so self-conscious. I was very good at what I did, but I was so self-conscious that it was literally blocking any sort of connection. And that's the first time I ever saw that in my life. I just saw, wow, I'm self-conscious. And I discovered during that journey that the reason I was so self-conscious was because I was lost in insecure thought. That I was operating from a place of insecurity and fear. Fear and insecurity about being good enough, about comparing myself to others. And I was constantly in self-evaluation, looking at how I was doing. Mm-hmm. Now, the fact that you can create an awesome business even though you're living in that is good news, because, you know, it just goes to show you don't have to be in the right mindset to succeed. I was not ever really in the right mindset. But to me, that became the missing link. I started to see that when people are insecure or self-conscious, it doesn't matter how clear they are on their business, their message, their business model, their pricing, who they want to serve. That level of insecurity and self-consciousness just blocks us when we fall for it. And so it's very difficult to take action in the world when you're focused on self, when you're shut down in insecurity. So I had this kind of new sense of compassion. And I felt my business, my offering, you know, was no longer just about helping people get clear so they could go and make money, but it was also about helping them get beyond their insecurities and their self-evaluation and their comparisons so that they could be effective with the clarity that they did get, so that they could be acting on ideas in the world. One of the big changes for me, Dominica, was I would never do interviews like this. I would never get in front of the camera. I was so self-conscious. I had to have the perfect brand, perfect website, perfect photo shoots. I was so insecure about me that coming on live and being asked questions that I don't know are coming was too scary, right? Mm-hmm. Today, I just see that has fallen away, not because I changed my mindset, but because I woke up to the fact that that feeling of self-consciousness was coming from insecure thought about myself and nothing else. As soon as I saw that that was insecure thought creating that feeling, it was like poof, the lights went on. So I'm really interested in helping people see that for themselves if they're finding themselves blocked. And that was my transition, Dominica. You know, when you see something as profound as that, even as simple as that, mm-hmm. You know, I knew my business model was going to change. So I feel I found the missing link and brought that through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so how to stop our insecure thinking, how to change or if we can change those insecure thoughts about ourselves, how we look, what we are doing, what we can do for our business, how to overcome this insecure thinking.
Yeah, great question. And it's a very innocent question that, you know, I used to ask myself. Mm-hmm. There is not a technique to this, but here's what there is. I say to my clients, if we can start to recognize, and one of the ways we recognize is through how we feel. If we can start to recognize when we're getting lost in self, it's like the light goes on in the dark room and the insecure thinking loses its grip.
Mm-hmm.
So for years, I was just walking around in the insecure thinking, feeling like it was real. Every evaluation I had about myself was real. The moment I saw that it was thought, and that thought had really no meaning, it was like clouds passing through the sky. And I would have the same clouds, very often the same type of clouds. But I kept looking at the clouds. I kept thinking the clouds were important. I kept thinking the clouds were real. So my way of being in the world reflected that. The moment we see, oh, we're just lost here. This is just the insecurity coming in. And the way I see it is how I feel. If I'm feeling self-conscious, if I'm feeling shut down, if I'm feeling blocked, if I'm procrastinating, if I'm beating myself up, those to me are all the feelings that I recognize. Okay, you've gone into insecurity again. Our feeling is a great indicator for where our state of mind is at. And so it's not about, look, we're not going to get rid of these things. If you've ever noticed, you could do 100 days of affirmations and mantras. The moment you stop, your habitual thinking comes back. And if you happen to be like me, where your habitual thinking revolves around a focus on self, revolves around, comparing yourself, evaluating yourself, beating yourself up for X, Y, and Z, then that's what you're going to hear more and more of. The objective is not to get rid of that, because thought, you can't get rid of thought. We are thinking beings. But the objective here, I say to my clients, is to start to see when you're lost in that. Get a feel for when you're lost in that. And just by recognizing when you're lost in that, the lights go on up here. The thinking has less grip, and you're not going to continue operating like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kind of feels to me like a spiritual phenomenon. And for those of you that are saying that's too easy, it can't just be about seeing it, right? It is simple because it's true, right? I think we want to make it difficult. It must be more complicated. There must be a strategy. There's not. It's like, if you walk into a dark room, you can't see anything. You're fumbling around in the dark. The moment you put the light on, you kind of know where everything is and what's happening around you. Well, it's the same here. So I hope that's somewhat given you a sense, Dominica, of what to do with insecure thinking.
Yeah, so it's like being aware that you are lost, and like reconnecting with your feelings. Have this feeling of yeah. So in your work, like in your coaching and like in sharing your message, your new message, you speak a lot about using your wisdom, like reconnecting with your wisdom, or like using your wisdom to find a new path, or to even market your business by using your wisdom. So how to do that, how to reconnect with your wisdom, and how to follow your wisdom?
Yeah, lovely question. Yeah, it's such a powerful and underused gift that we have, this wisdom. And it's so simple. It's just common sense. So if you want to use it more, all I say is listen to it, and rather than intellectualize it and discount it and make it complicated, act on what you hear. One of the first key pieces of wisdom that came to me when I was starting out was I didn't have any clients. I was living in a country where no one spoke the language. I didn't speak their language. They didn't speak mine. Nobody knew what coaching was. it came to me through my own wisdom. It came, do an event. And I thought, what? Here? And then it came to me, the next breadcrumb, collaborate with a friend in London. I could have discounted that wisdom. I could have looked at my reality, which was I have 160 pounds in my pocket. How the hell can I set up an event in London and fly back there and do it? Instead, I listened and I got on the plane, borrowed the money, got on the plane, went back, collaborated, and that evening I attained my very first client. And I received a sum of £5,000 for a day's work with her. Now, I just want you to hear how common sense simple it was to just do an event, collaborate with someone that you know, go back to London. If I had discounted that, I don't know if I'd have a coaching business today, because everything came from that start in my mind. That was the first breadcrumb. And so if we want to hear our wisdom more, stop looking for something arbitrary and sort of scary, and start looking at common sense. What's coming to you that sounds like a lovely idea, a desire, a piece of common sense? And if we will go in that direction, instead of listening to all the evaluation that comes after after the wisdom, yes, but, no, I can't, but, oh, but what about this? If we'll listen to this instead of this, we can't not succeed. I have seen wisdom to be like a touch of God's favor. You could have nothing and suddenly you are thrown into a great expansion. It looks like a miracle to me. And I've seen it over and over and over again. So it's a kind of an educated faith in the subject of wisdom. It's so simple. It's right there in us. It's guiding us. It's the same thing that turns acorns into oak trees and embryos into babies without you and I doing anything about it. I'll often say to mothers, I mean, did you spend 9 months looking at your stomach hoping the baby would grow? Well, no, I didn't. I just got on with my life. Right. So how did the baby grow? You know, how does the heart beat? How do we just find ourselves at different points? And it really is this wisdom within and around us that does the hard work for us. Now, our job is to hear it and to follow it when we can. And that to me is key. That to me is a key to success.
Mm-hmm. So it's like listening to ourselves more and like following our wisdom in taking steps. Yeah. Because sometimes
more interested in wisdom than insecurity is what I say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because sometimes we overthink. We look like for the strategy, to steps, to change, or to and we do not listen to, and we do not follow our wisdom. But actually, we have like this wisdom which is saying us exactly what steps to take. Great. So thank you very much for being with us today, Grace, and sharing your experience, your tips about how to change your career, how to start something new, and how to overcome our insecure thoughts. So tell us more where we can find information about you. So I know that you are going to have a new website, and also that you have a free gift for our listeners. So tell us more.
Cool. Thank you. It's been my pleasure, Dominica. And, you can find out more about me on citygirlconfidence.com. I am emerging with a new brand, and that will be gracefulcoaching.net. But for now, you can go on over to citygirlconfidence.com. And sure, as a free gift, if any of you have heard something today that you would like to explore more deeply with me, I would love to offer you the chance of let's call it a wisdom-filled session. I'd have room for about 10 of those. So the first 10 people to sort of reach out would be best, and just put the subject line Dominica or podcast would be great. Then I know where you've come from. Yeah, so that's my offer. Let's get on a call for a 45-minute session, and you can use it for whatever you desire. And if you've heard something in particular you'd like to explore further from today, it would be my pleasure.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I like the name of the new website, Graceful Coaching.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, great. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening, and let us know what are your thoughts about subject of wisdom and insecure thinking. And please share this episode with your friends, and I will be back soon with another fantastic episode. Thank you very much, and bye.